What's up, everybody? It's Make It Make Sense. And do what Brit says. Do not try to guess who Jane is, please. It's not a joke. She is supposed to remain anonymous. I'm going to be doing my best to keep her anonymous as well. Before we even play the intro, there was a rumor that I got kicked out of court, so we're gonna have to get into the mess a little bit before we move into other topics. So like the video as the intro plays. We got a lot to get into. A lot.
Make it make sense.
Make it make sense to me intellectually.
Make it make sense. You know what was up.
Big moves.
Surfer.
Make it make sense. Tell me how you squeeze it. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things that you say. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things of your dreams. Hey, let me work out all the things in between. Make it make sense. Tell me how you squeeze it. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things that you say. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things of your dreams. Hey, let me work out all the things.
Your name is right now, bad boy. Love. Well, we about to make love. And then we gonna change your name back to Diddy. Cause then we gon' Diddy. Then we gonna change your name back to Puffy. Cause that's what you gonna be when we done Diddy.
I like that.
Hold on, wait, dude, you ain't supposed to like it. It's,
I like what you're talking about.
I don't like it if you
I hate
like it.
scrambling and scraping.
Hey,
That's a lot. I like that. I like you.
guard?
I ain't locked in here with you, playboy. You locked in here with me.
Hey, no Diddy, bro.
And grab that baby roll over there and lather up.
Lather up.
Thought I told you that. We
Hey,
won't
nah,
stop.
man, hold
Thought I
on.
told you.
Okay, y'all. Okay, let's get some housekeeping done. There's a lot of mess that's been going on at the courthouse. You know who's not in the mess? Me. I'm not in the mess. Apparently, I'm so much not in the mess that people have been thinking that I'm considered legacy media, which means that the real media not real media, but like legacy, like actual, news outlets. They have thought that I was one of their contemporaries. I'll just take that as a compliment. I am not in any way, shape, or form the person who doxed the witness. The man who doxed her was put out of the real court, and then he's now allowed to come back to the overflow room. It was not me. What else do I need to get out of the way before we get into this? I don't really know what you guys want from me in terms of coverage. You know, or if you don't know, I don't like Diddy, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to tell you when something is effective in the courtroom. So if what you're looking for is a content creator who hates Diddy and doesn't want to be objective in reporting this, then I'm probably not that content creator. If they, meaning the defense, does something effective, I'm going to tell you guys. Moreover, this whole new media thing, to be honest, to be young and black and included in something like that is actually really dope to me. Even if I wasn't included, I would still be big up in those people. The people who participated in new media in no way impact the way I think or report on this. Like, you guys have to know me better than that. Even talking to some of the victims, even if I talk to them and feel for them, it doesn't mean that if something ridiculous happens, I'm not going to report on it. I'm still going to report on that. I don't owe anybody anything. I don't. Okay, so this has come up in the. I guess we're going to get into the mess. So this has come up time and time again. There are traditional media outlets. They're called legacy media. These are the people who went to school for journalism. These are the people who report for Complex and Slate and MSNBC and CBS. They're all races, all nationalities, but they are traditional media. New media is people such as myself who is covering this, giving my commentary on it, but this is not what I went to school for. So I always have a lot of respect for them, but you know, hold on. Okay, my bad. I have a lot of respect for them, but I am not legacy media. So a very prominent reporter was talking to me today, and she was like, she thought I was legacy media. And then the man, who's also a real journalist, thought that I was legacy media as well. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll just take that as a compliment. But yeah, anyway, the mess. I have no intentions in getting involved in any of the mess. That's why if I want to go in the courtroom, I pay a line sitter. I don't want to interact with a lot of that bullshit and foolishness, to be honest with you. I'm here to report on the case. I don't want to be the news. I want to report on the news. That's it. That's it. I won't be involved in any of the stupidness. It's just not my thing. Go for it. If you need to go viral, I think I was telling you, people wanted me to interact with that fresh and fit dude and the lady who was cursing them out. Why would I want to? That's probably some of their biggest videos. That's what they wanted to do. There's a market for that. I'm not going to intercede in something that somebody purposefully wanted. You know who they would be looking at? Crazy? Me. She didn't hit him. He didn't hit her. They both had, their cameras out. They both put that on their channel. I'm not doing that shit. Why would I? But anyway, yeah, no. It doesn't even make sense. Why would I do that? Anyway, so let's get into this. I'm not gonna come up here and blow smoke up y'all's ass. If the prosecution did a really good job, I'm gonna tell you. If the defense did a really good job, I'm going to tell you. That's just it. But okay, Bana. Let me start with this. Knowing what I know about Diddy, off the bat, I don't put anything past him. Hard stop. I don't put anything past him. That being said, what we're about to get into with Bana was hard to watch. So hard to watch that I ended up showing up to court late because it was just kind of like, it was excruciating to watch her get destroyed like that on the stand. And I can't remember what outlet she writes for. It might be Complex. I've gotten really cool with her. She did the same thing. And I was like, get out of my head. Like, we both ended up showing up late because it's hard to watch Bana get destroyed like that. Let me see. Ray J gets brought up again. I don't know what to tell y'all. He gets brought up again in this testimony. They really want that name mentioned. Y'all can do with that as you may. I have nothing to do with that. Ray J was mentioned, and that's just that. Ray J has wanted to be a part of this conversation, and now he's a part of the conversation in a way that I don't think he ever anticipated. That don't have anything to do with me. That has everything to do with the defense attorney who continuously brings that name up, which means that somewhere down the line, somebody brought his name up. But we'll get into that as well. Bana day 2, worse than yesterday. When somebody put in the comments, this was hard to watch, not because of me, but because of the subject matter. And I was like, perfect. That's how I was feeling. So how I expressed it is exactly what was going on in the courtroom. Everybody was like wincing. It was horrible for Bana, great for the defense, and great for anybody who likes Nicole Westmoreland. But do I think that he did this to Bana? I don't put anything past him. I don't know if he dangled her, but I could see him intimidating her and throwing her on the stuff. But we'll get into why this was bad. So there's message between Bana and Cassie. Okay. So there's a picture, and it's a picture of drugs. And she asks her, what kind of drugs is this? And her response is, I don't know what type of drugs. Here's the thing. Bana, you would be a much more sympathetic witness if you just put it out there. If you have been dealing drugs and the way that you've been dealing drugs for years, you know good and goddamn well what this is. It looked to be Molly. It looked like Molly. You knew it wasn't Tucci. It's not pink. It didn't look like Coke. It's not white powder. It's not a pill. It looked like Molly. But even in this simple question, you have immunity. You told us you sold drugs. You were doing drugs every day. You know good and goddamn well what it is. So the next one is May 22nd. It's another photo. Now there's a bag of drugs. Again, she can't tell by the picture. I put, trust when I say a former drug dealer could tell you what type of drug this is. She says, so you're still selling drugs to Cassie 1 month after 1 month after you were placed over the balcony, and you weren't scared to do that? She says, I guess I wasn't. Let me make sure you're clear. So did Cassie see you get hung over the balcony? She says, I can't speak for her. Now that was a good answer. That was a good answer. It says, you hurt your back and your neck? She says, yes. You have night terrors and nightmares? Yes. You have nightmares recently about this? She says, no, not about this. Did Diddy grope you? Did Diddy grope your breast? She says, sustained. Now, clearly, the woman says, we're about to get into your attorney. So this is messy. We're getting into the Tyrone stuff. Did Diddy grope your breast? That was objected to and sustained. Is Tyrone your lawyer? She says, yes. Was the Mr. Combs squeezed your breast so hard it left a mark a lie? She says, yes, that was a lie. And that's why I fired Tyrone. She says, your new attorney filed a new lawsuit. She says, yes. In the new lawsuit, they still claim sexual assault. She says, yes. So you are maintaining the sexual assault occurred. She says, yes. I told them where Diddy grabbed my chest. She says, did you tell the government that? She says, I don't know. I don't remember. So they show an exhibit. She says, is this the transcript where you claim Mr. Combs where Mr. Combs groped your breast? This is from January 2024. She says, I don't remember. Is it true that although your lawyer, Tyrone, made the story up about the sexual assault, that you lied and went along with it? And then there's a long pause, a longer pause, and then she says, can you rephrase it? So then she asked the question again. Is even if your attorney, Tyrone, made up the story about the sexual assault, you lied and went along with it? She said, it wasn't a lie. He did grab my breasts. I'm sorry. Sorry. So I'm so annoyed at this point, and we're just at the start. I start writing what I think she should say. So I put, she should have said, it wasn't a lie. It was not a lie. It wasn't a lie. He did grab my breasts. Then the question would be neutralized. But she's not, I don't know. Maybe she's not cognizant of where she's at. Maybe her attorneys have just told her and the government have just told her, just say, I don't know. If somebody asks you if you are lying, Say no. Good advice. Say no. I'm not lying. She didn't say anything. She said, it's the word started. Can you rephrase it again? It's just the word started. Please rephrase it again. So then she rephrases the question. But it's the same question. Tyrone made it up, but did you go along with it? She again says, it's just the word started. I can't agree with the full question. So then now Nicole is getting annoyed. She says, ma'am, isn't it true that the only way you could file a lawsuit is to say it was sexual assault? Ray J comes in a little bit further in the questioning. Here's the thing. This is not good. At this point, it's not good. It's not good. If the lawsuit, the civil lawsuit that Bana filed is under the Adult Sexual Survivors Act, and in the original complaint, Tyrone lied about, or she's alleging that Tyrone lied about there being bruises on her breasts from a sexual assault. They clean that up when she fires him and says he is making stuff up about me, and that's perfectly fine. If that's the case and you fired him for that reason, that's perfectly fine. You did the right thing. But if it is the case that he held her over the balcony and they are using him holding her over the balcony as the only form of sexual assault, I think her actual claim is going to be questioned. This testimony alone is not great for her civil case against Diddy. But this question right here, ma'am, isn't it true that the only way you could file a lawsuit is to say it was sexual assault? Now, her response to this is, I don't understand the question. But for the prosecution, in terms of Bana specifically as a witness, the damage is done. Whether that's the truth or not, whether he sexually assaulted her and threw her over the balcony is not even in question anymore, because she is not defending herself. Tyrone Blackburn is an attorney for several of the victims. Tyrone Blackburn took on a lot of the cases. He's Little Rod's attorney. He was Bana's attorney. He took on a lot of cases pro bono, as I understand it, to help the victims. However, in this situation, it's not looking good. I don't know. Is it lagging? But okay. So we move on. She says, let's go back to the balcony. Were you screaming? She says, yes. Did you go to urgent care? No. Your chiropractor? Yes. And did the girlfriend put the bandages on your back? She says, yes. So the chiropractor didn't bandage you. She says, no, I ran out. You were hurt? She says, yes. Were you really hurt? She says, yes. Okay. She says, your girlfriend, what's her name? And Bana's response is, she goes by Sarah. And then Nicole, the attorney, looks at her and says, I need your ex-girlfriend's full name. And Bana says, I believe her name is Sarah Sadell. Bana, you don't know your own ex-girlfriend's name? What do you mean? I believe it's Sarah Siddell. This is your ex-girlfriend. You have her in the testimony. She goes by this name, and then when she asks you for her specific first and last name, your response is, I believe her name is Sarah Siddell. What? Huh? What? I just put Bana what? So everybody's in the courtroom like looking like if Bana's court case, her civil lawsuit makes it to trial, I hope and pray that they prepare her better than this, because this was very hard to watch. So then she says, after doing 8 hours of ketamine, did you and Diddy sit down and roll a blunt together? She says, yes. October 4th, 2016. You went to Diddy's concert. She says, yes. You were in close proximity to Diddy? She says, yes. Went to Bootsy Bellows? She says, yes. At Diddy's private party? Yes. Did you work with him? Oh, okay. Did you party with him? She goes, I went to the club, but it wasn't with Diddy. You weren't too fearful. You weren't so fearful not to go to Diddy's events? She said, I always had a little feeling. I always had like a feeling inside. Did you have your neck brace on? I said, good goddamn. Ketamine, I believe, is like cat tranquilizers, but it's a really, really crazy drug. These questions are super simple, but very effective. Did you have your neck brace on? She says, probably not. I wouldn't want to be seen in that. Were you in pain? She says, yes, I probably was in pain. These questions are all about the balcony incident. And within a very short amount of time, she was back around Diddy. Oh, horse tranquilizer. I think it's also cat tranquilizers. Let me see. Is ketamine used for cats? Ketamine is approved for use in humans, cats, and primates. There we go. So it is also a cat tranquilizer and a dog tranquilizer and a horse tranquilizer. Y'all be okay. So this is where he comes up again. She says, so you told your drug dealer, Ray J, to bring you some drugs. She says, I don't know why his name is Ray J. Yeah. So there's a text message. Hola, you ladies want to have a work, smoke, sleepover? They respond, I was just about to hate you. Bana responds, yeah, we can. So she says, so Cassie is asking if you and Deontay want to have a sleepover. She says, yes. She says, less than 2 weeks after Mr. Combs caused you significant terror, you were willing to spend the night at Cassie's house. She says, yes. So this is me again answering the question for Bana. Bana's response was yes, but I feel like she should have said, I was a drug addict and I needed my fix and money from Cassie as she was my biggest client. I was scared, but I was scared of Diddy, but I was more addicted to drugs. That would have been a great response. You would have neutralized the question. But just saying that you're having night terrors about this incident and screaming in the middle of the night, but then you're willing to go and spend the night at Cassie's house again, it doesn't look good. Do I think it could happen? Absolutely. They were very much drug addicts. It looked like everybody, including low budget Rob, everybody was a drug addict.
Low budget, bitch.
I'm never gonna get over. I need to meet Rob Holiday, the low budget bitch. Another text thread. Coolio, almost done with these designs. Thank you for yesterday. She then says, gonna drop the ones for P, all the ones that he liked. Cassie's like, what? What are you talking about? She says the t-shirts. So then Cassie says, oh, okay. So then Nicole says, so after he hung you over a balcony, you wanted to give him a t-shirt. She says, yes. After the FaceTime, I said I was going to try to be cool with him. Is it true you told the government that Diddy did not address the balcony over that FaceTime call? No response. Isn't it true you made up the balcony story so that you were still cool? Isn't it true that you made up the balcony story and that's why you were still cool with Diddy after? She goes, that's half true. So I guess, I don't know. I'm not going to guess what she was trying to say. She said it was half true, y'all. So there's a text from Diddy, and Diddy says to her, when friends get high with one another, you're supposed to have their back. You are really racked for that. So now is where Nicole has jumped off the ledge, because you are trying to allude that Diddy is better to Cassie than Bana because the drugs she does with you and the beatings you give her are better for her than Bana supplying her drugs when you're not around. Nicole, you jumped off a ledge with that. Nobody believes that Diddy was a better anything to anybody. Diddy coming down on somebody for using drugs with Cassie, while that's the premise of your relationship. Big black dick and drugs. And we're going to get, there's a lot of big black dick coming up. Like, it is what it is. Now that we're going to be back talking about Jane. But yeah, Nicole, you jumped off a ledge here. Nobody believes anything that you're talking about with Diddy coming down as if Diddy was Cassie's savior. It says, did you feel like Diddy wanted you to stop doing so many drugs with Cassie? She says, it was confusing because of everything that just happened. This is where I wish that Bana had a little Deontay, because this is how Deontay would have answered. Did you feel like Diddy wanted you to stop doing so many drugs with Cassie? I guarantee you, Deontay would have said, is that why he hung me over the balcony? Deontay would have had a field day, but Bana just said it was confusing because of everything that happens. Yeah, Deontay probably would have said we can't. Hold on. They should have put Deontay with Nicole. That would have been extremely funny. Let me see. Where is that? Sorry I'm so late, y'all. But it gets a little bit hard when you are traveling across the city. My haircut appointment was at like 4:30. I didn't get out the chair till like 8 almost, and then I still haven't eaten. New York is crazy. I don't know how y'all do it. Shout out to the true New Yorkers. Let me see. So okay. So she said happened in the early morning. She says yes. You were alone when you took the photo? She says yes. So you told the government that it was airdropped to you? She says yes. So you told the government that the photo of your leg, the horrible photo that I told you guys, it was a puncture wound and a huge bruise. You told the government that it was September 26, 2016 at 9:45 a.m. It was taken on an Apple phone. And they have metadata from the phone. So she said the Bad Boy reunion tour was going on and you worked with it. She says, I'm familiar with it, worked on it unofficially. You told the government you didn't finish it. She says, I only went to 1 or 2 shows. Do you know Cassie and Diddy's travel schedule? She says, no. Now, anytime Nicole has a question, it's pointed for a reason. She says no. So then she says, let me pull out an exhibit. I told you, Nicole is good for an exhibit. September 25th, Diddy performed in Jersey. And it says Cassie and Diddy were in Jersey for their September 25th show. Bana says, I'm not sure. Nicole asked the same question 3 times. And then Bana says, I can't recall. September 26th, Diddy and Cassie were at the New York City Boys and Girls Club for some award or ceremony. She goes, I don't know. And then they were at a signing, or Diddy was at a signing at Macy's September 26th. She goes, okay, I don't know. So then she pulls up a hotel receipt from the Trump, New York. Keeping it a bean. Absolutely. Technically, let me tell you guys what it's like being in this courtroom. Nicole, like every attorney has to defend somebody that's guilty. That's their job. How you defend somebody that's guilty is you're going to defend them with the same amount of like gusto as you defend somebody that's innocent. That's your job. Today, I'm literally sitting next to George Zimmerman's attorney. Literally, I'm sitting next to George Zimmerman's attorney. It's a mixed bag. I can't come here and report this stuff to you guys and not tell you exactly what's going on and the energy and everything that's going on in the jury. Nicole is doing her job. The problem for the prosecution is she's effective. Like when I get into Jane, I'm gonna have to keep remembering that name. When I get into Jane, my favorite from the prosecution team is Comey, the lead attorney. She's a great match for Nicole, but that's just what it is. I have to give you guys the real. So yeah, I'm sitting next to the attorney from George Zimmerman. Her job was to defend George Zimmerman. Realistically, there's always going to be somebody defending, whether the government's right or wrong, whether the person who is on trial is right or wrong. At some point, you're going to have to defend somebody that's guilty. So it's just about ways of figuring out how to poke holes, and that's what they're doing to Bana. So she goes over the thing. Frank Black is the name on it. We all know that that's Diddy's fake name. They arrive on November 24, 2016. Depart September 24, 2016. Depart September 29, 2016. Camille, unfortunately, we don't all know that. So many people feel I've been getting blown up. So many people feel I know for a fact that this person was on that team. I know for a fact. I know for a fact because Simone knows them and introduced me. Camille, I've been getting a lot of people who feel like I'm turning my back on victims. So I almost feel like I have to explain what it's like being in the courtroom because I'm not understanding why I'm getting so much blowback for just reporting what's going on. That's the thing. There's so many, intellectuals and brilliant law minds, but they're also just normal people who are interested in the case, and people are talking. You're not going to have a Harvard or Yale let me reel that back. You're not going to have a law professor in the jury stand, and that's what matters. not the Zimmerman attorney, not Gloria Allred. These people are not the jury members. These people are, you know, maybe doctors or, you know, like normal jobs. Like, y'all get what I'm saying. I'm not going to go into that. They're just normal people, and normal people are sitting and listening to expert witnesses. I mean, expert forensic scientists, and you know, all of these witnesses, and Diddy is staring them down. It's not. It feels heavy in the courtroom. You know what I mean? Like, it feels heavy in the courtroom. But okay, anyway. So I can just show you guys this. Literally, she's given us the amounts, the cost for those days that Bana has alleged that this is when she got thrown over, not thrown over, but held over a balcony. So I'm in the courtroom and people are like, everybody is like talking. The bailiff is upset because it's not looking great for Bana. And I'm in there like, well, anything could happen. If you have a private jet, you could be in one city this day and back in. And I'm looking at this and I'm trying to think objectively. There could be an instance where Diddy and Cassie flew out and Bana got attacked. But that's when the prosecution would need to bring in some type of record showing that the private jet had flown from New Jersey to LA and then back again. That's the kind of stuff that I'm not seeing from the prosecution here. But you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to think like the prosecution, because if Diddy and Cassie are in New Jersey for this tour and you have all of this information as well, it's not like you just got this information. They could have asked Cassie something like this. Like, if they knew that Bana was coming on the stand, they could have had Cassie testify to the fact that she and Diddy flew back to LA on these dates. They didn't do that. So it does not look good. I don't know how else to say it. It does not look good. The whole room was like shooing at this point. So then Nicole says, do you agree that one person can't be in two places at one time? And Bob's response was, in theory. So Nicole looks up and says, so you're not sure? Hold on. We got to add that. We definitely need to add this. I want to show you guys what Nicole was doing at some of these, you know, questions that could have easily been answered. Here we go. Hopefully this one works. Let me see. I want to show you the face Nicole was making to Bana. So literally, when Bana would say something like this, do you agree that one person can't be in two places at once? And Bana would say, in theory. This is what Nicole would do. So you're not sure about that? Literally, she was tilting her head. So you're not sure about that? And Bana says no. So then she moves on. 9/26/26, you testified. Then at this point, I'm thinking, well, Diddy called, I believe it was Carrie, and said, should he come home for Cassie's birthday? But then I remembered that doesn't apply in this situation because Bana told Cassie that she got the date wrong and the place wrong. It was not her birthday, and it was not over a balcony at a hotel. It was at her house. So I was thinking that this was on Cassie's birthday, but it wasn't, according to Bana. unless Cassie had the date right, which is quite possible because these people are, no offense, but they're drug addicts at this time. Both are clean and sober now, but at this time they're drug addicts. So could it be a situation where maybe it was Cassie's birthday? Sure. But we don't know that. And on the stand, I can only tell you what everybody in the courtroom was saying, and it did not look good. And these were lay people. And shout out to I think there was like 3 straight shooters sitting in front of me. And they really enjoyed the back and forth between me and the reporters and the attorneys on the road. So shout out to those 3 straight shooters. It was nice talking to you, ladies. So she says, so Mr. Combs did not hold on. So Mr. Combs did not cause you the injuries we saw on the phone on September 26th. Bana says, I can't agree with that. So then they show the metadata saying that the picture was September 26, 2016, and this was the bruise. She says, yes. So then she goes back to this. One person cannot be in California and in New York at the same time. No response. She says it again. So one person cannot be in California and New York at the same time. And Bana says, in theory. I don't know. I want to see the records. Get the jet records. You have a private jet. You can be anywhere. But this, I'm not going to lie, Comey, y'all had all the same information. All of the dates should have been fact-checked. And let me say this. Sometimes when people experience trauma, you don't have an exact recollection. You kind of remember a date, or you'll remember something else that occurred around that time, so you can kind of put the dates together. And then on top of that, these people were all on drugs. It's not that I do not have some form of sympathy or empathy for Bana in this situation, but you're going up against some powerhouse attorneys and you're asking for $10 million. You got to do better on the stand. If she even makes it to the stand after this, this was definitely intimidating. So much so that the judge, remember I told you guys Diddy would be like staring at them and looking at the jury very intently. The judge picked up on it as well. Maybe the judge watches. I hope not. I'm just playing. The judge picked up on that as well and told Diddy that if he keeps staring at the jury like that, they're going to remove him. He's definitely doing that to intimidate. So the last question was, so you lied. And she said, I can't agree with that. Okay, so now we have the redirect. She says, do you know if the notes that were being taken while you were speaking to the government was a complete transcript? She says, no. Did you ever review them? She says, no. Did you talk to Cassie about her lawsuit before she filed? She says, yes. How many times? Once. Why did she ask you? She asked if she could use my name. What did you tell Cassie? Please do not put my name in this. Did you read the complaint? She says no. What did you do? Told her, once I saw it, I told her it was incorrect. The date and location. Were you telling Cassie what happened to you? She says yes. Do you have any doubt that Diddy held you over a balcony? She says no. Did you tell Cassie that you were going to file a lawsuit? She says no. Was there any difference between the balcony incident? Was there any difference between the balcony incident and your complaint and Cassie's complaint? She says yes. Are there things that you will never forget? She says yes. Were you volunteering information in the meetings with the government, or was the government asking you specific questions? She says, yes, I answered the questions the government asked. Now, that is important. Nicole really shanked the hell out of Bana. But this is very important because Nicole was trying to say, well, you didn't tell the government in your first meeting that you were held over the balcony. When in actuality, Bana is stating very clearly, I told them, I answered their questions. Each time that she went, she answered their questions, which basically means she might not have been volunteering that information. So that was a very smart response. You were asked about partying. Did you mean doing drugs? She says yes. Did you review the demand letter Tyrone sent? Not all of them. And I'm like, Bana, there was only 2. Were they correct? She says no. And what did you do? I fired him. Was there a bruise on your chest? She says no. So then they had her show exactly what happened when Diddy held her over the balcony, allegedly. She says the way that he held her was like this. And then he went down. And then he lifted her up. So you guys can kind of gauge. You guys can kind of like gauge if you feel like that was sexual assault. But she did say he was like on her breasts. And who knows what somebody will do in a cockeye, but we need to get these dates as accurate as possible. Why were you wearing a neck brace? Because I was in pain. Did you wear the neck brace in more than one occasion? Were you wearing the neck brace in more than one occasions when you took the photo? She says yes. Do you know the exact dates when it happened? She says no. So there we go. So then here comes Nicole again. You had multiple interviews with the government. She says yes. You gave the government pictures of your legs. She says yes. Are you lying? She says no. Is suing Diddy, y'all, it gets messy. Is suing Diddy your opportunity to become a millionaire? And Bana says, I can't agree. Are you testifying today you don't want anything to mess up? Are you testifying the way that you are today because you don't want anything to mess up your lawsuit? And I said, Bana, do one thing right. Do one thing right, Bana. Just one. And this was the one thing. She says, I'm telling the truth. Perfect response. Because in all honesty, I do believe that she's testifying like this so that she doesn't mess up her civil lawsuit. But this was a good one. 1 point Bana. That one, I didn't know how she was going to get out of that. She says, but you're seeking $10 million. She says, my lawyer came up with that money. I said, you and Dawn said the exact same shit. You know exactly how much you're suing the man for. It's just dumb. You know exactly how much you want from this man. She says, so you reviewed the lawsuit. You testified to that. She says, yes. So now I'm like, paint the scene for everybody because everybody is like still wincing. People are confused. People are annoyed. So I'm like, Gene Deal is like right in front of me. And the Zimmerman attorney is here. And everybody is like super confused. Everybody's like super confused. We got a forensic analysis. A forensic analyst. We're not really going to do too much with Mr. Johnson. He's just talking about like the timestamps for some of the data that they extracted from Cassie's phones. Basically, some of the phones were cracked, but he was still able to retrieve all the data. This don't have shit to do with anything, but something that you guys might want to know from a person who actually does this for a living. When a message is deleted, how are you able to retrieve it? He says, just because something is deleted does not mean that it does not exist on your phone. It still exists in the operating system. It's just not visible to you. Once you save a ton more data, then the system will automatically delete some of your old deleted stuff. But for the most part, you can delete a message and it will stay in the operating system of your phone forever, as long as you just don't have a ton of storage issues. Thought that was let me see. Okay, now we're to Jane. Do not in any way, shape, or form put anybody's name in the chat, what you might have heard, none of that. If I have any mods in here, no matter what the name is, you gotta like either time them out or they gotta go. Period. I'm not trying to get in trouble. Apparently there was an article about me that said I was kicked out. I don't even know. You can't do this in this chat. I barely give you guys anything to say. You can't. And also, please stop putting, I know that I'll shout out content creators' names, but putting content creators' names in this chat during this trial, whether good or bad, we might have to cut that out. Just in general, we might have to cut that out through the end of this trial. Let me think on that one. We got Jane. Jane says she did half a semester in junior college. So this is just the prosecution's witness. So I'm not going to ask you the questions. I'm just going to give you the meat and potatoes of what's going on. She did half a semester at junior college. Of course, she's one of Diddy's girlfriends, so she is very pretty. She dated him from 2021 to 2024. Their nicknames for each other were Bert and Ernie. She was Bert. He was Ernie. She also called him Snookums, Diddy, and Baby. Now, this is interesting because there was no mention of calling him what she called her father or grandpa. If you guys remember, Cassie had to tell Diddy right at the beginning of the relationship, what do you call your father? And I believe that Cassie said she called her grandpa Pop Pop. So she was forced to call Diddy Pop Pop. Young Miami, she very famously called Diddy Poppy. So this time he's not making her do that. So I don't know if it's because this woman is a full woman and Cassie was a child or closer to a child, like very, very young. So I don't know what that's about, but yeah. Okay, well, you gotta go. I'm just not playing. Like there's so much like bullshit going on. Good or bad, I don't want other content creators' names in the chat. Good or bad. If I choose to say their name, great. We're not doing that. I can't. Good or bad, y'all. So she goes on a girls trip to Miami. He was dating one of her girlfriends, invited them all to dinner at his house in Two-Star Island. She says she had met Diddy 5 years prior at a Father's Day celebration. This trip was going to be a Miami trip, a girls trip for 5 days. And she saw Diddy 3 out of those 5 days. On the first day she saw him, he was charming and nice. She was drawn to him. They left his home and went on a boat. She says she was not using drugs. She went to the restroom. He followed her and got her number. Now, mind you, this is her homegirl's dude. This is her homegirl's dude. So, I mean, she didn't say she wasn't grimy, but she got a little Megan Thee Stallion in her. Don't leave her around your ninja. She remembers seeing pink powder substances, One of the girls requested drugs, so a drug mule came and delivered it. She went to the studio with Diddy, or all the girls did. Diddy then pulls her specifically to the side with the drug mule and tries to offer her drugs. She asks if the drugs were safe. Diddy and the drug mule laugh at her, and they say it was the best. Her homegirl at this point gets mad because she and Diddy are interacting like this so closely and makes everybody leave. The next day, Diddy hosted a pool party and a movie night. So the homegirl is peeping the scene. You really are, Jane really is, she'll take your man. I don't know how else to say it. He gets her phone number while they're all watching movies in his house during movie night. When he's with the girl he's sleeping with, he texted her and said, let's go out. She said it's complicated, but she'll stay in touch with him. So then there's an exhibit of him hitting her up on November 9th, 2020. He says, Bert. She replies, Ernie. Bert says, call me. How are you? That was November 30th, 2020. So 21 days later, he's saying, call me. So Sean pressures her. She was hesitant because Diddy was still involved with her girlfriend. The girlfriend then gets engaged. Let me just say this much. There is a whole nother world that most people don't really see. But there's a reason why Carucci's best friend ended up with a baby with Chris Brown. All of these people intermingle. All of these people sleep together. You go on a girls' trip. Your homegirl is dating a billionaire. Maybe she don't want to get pissed on. So he's sleeping with her normally. You come around and you are now what he wants. He doesn't care that the girl that he is actively with and the reason that all of y'all are here are there. He only cares about you because in his mind, you are the one. Meanwhile, she then brought y'all. First off, don't never bring your cuter friends around somebody you want. That's dumb on your part. Take your ugly friends on trips with you when you with your girl or your dude. Don't ever take the beautiful one with you. Who does that? I think Monique was like, when she had not married to this one, when she was married to her last dude, she was like, I started doing the Parkers and I had money, so I got me a maid. I made sure to find the oldest hag I could find with 3 strands of hair and 2 teeth. And even that bitch gotta go when I leave the house. You cannot have your pretty friend, like especially your friends who are in the circle who are, looking for a billionaire. You the dummy. But even with that being said, this girl, the homegirl who was dating Diddy, gets engaged 2 months after this Miami trip. So she was actively knowing what she was doing. Like all of these people use each other. That being said, the girl's now engaged and moved to London. I put the girlfriend got engaged to her real boyfriend shortly after the Miami trip. Told Diddy she was going to be in Miami, said he would get her a hotel room. She said, okay. Diddy was, she said, super charming. Their first date lasted 5 days. She said, I was very open we're going to take some of this out. She says that she was very open that she had previously dated someone close to Diddy. Diddy said he didn't give a damn about that. And she had dated Diddy's friend 5 years previous to this. She asked about the relationship between her friend and Diddy, and Diddy said that was much more of a friendship than a relationship. So they both said fuck it and began to sleep with each other. She said there was lots of love making and it was awesome. Yeah, I'm going to say this again. If you are putting names in the chat, you got to go. Sorry, no offense, but they're already trying to say that I'm doxing people. So yeah, she used the term lovemaking. She said it was awesome. Well, don't worry, we're gonna get to the big black dicks. It's coming. First date. She said they fell head over heels for each other after she left Miami. Continued communication with him via text. They then traveled to Turks and the Bahamas. She was very excited because she'd never been to Turks. It was her, Diddy, KK, the chef, the butler, and a photographer. Oh, and his barber all went to Turks. So they show an exhibit of KK, the chief of staff. They stayed in Turks 9 days and 6 days in the Bahamas. Before Turks, had you ever used drugs? She says, yes, she used ecstasy twice. Diddy suggested she used ecstasy 10 times in 9 days. Now, this is where we start getting into coercive behavior. You like this guy, you go on a trip with him. He's asking you to take drugs 10 times in 9 days. That's a lot. One day you use drugs twice. So at the pool, he randomly said, here, take this. And she took it. Now she says it was X, but this does not sound like X to me. She took it. Once it hit her, she fell to the ground and started throwing sand. Her body started convulsing and she started screaming. KK and the butler put her in a tub. And then eventually some of these symptoms started to subside. For the rest of the trip, they had her taking smaller doses. Do you see how problematic that is? Do you see how problematic that is? She's not saying, I want to take drugs. He's telling her, here, take this drug. The first time she takes a drug, clearly she's not accustomed to it because she starts convulsing. And instead of taking her to a doctor, they put her in a tub. So they say for the rest of the trip, take smaller doses. How did it make you feel? She said it was euphoric and heightened senses. And then he would have her take more when they came down. Coming down, she says, it felt like your mind was getting readjusted. They continued using drugs in the Bahamas. At this point, he sent her a wire transfer of $10,000 at the end of the trip. That was a lot of money for her. At that point, they started to say, I love you. He was very open with her that he had multiple girlfriends, and at the time she was okay with that because she had really started to fall for him. And so she said at that point I was cool with it. She said in her heart she only wanted Diddy. She only wanted to see Diddy, and so she didn't know or care what other rules that she had about seeing other men because her only concern was seeing him. She didn't want anyone else. She says they dated until he was arrested. They took 2 breaks. The first was it was a very short break. She can't remember the specific dates. And then they took another break from October 2023 to January 2024, which would make sense because at that point, Cassie had filed her lawsuit. So apparently this lady ain't that crazy. She didn't want any of the smoke that was coming from Diddy having all of these lawsuits. She said the relationship was very private. Both knew to keep it private. She didn't think too much of that. Moved to LA, and Diddy gave her the money to move and $6,000 specifically for the moving truck. She saw him every other week. He would fly her out to Miami. Over 3 months, what did Sean give you? She said it was a mix of cash and wire transfers. From February of 21 to May of 21. He gave her X, Molly, Coke, and K. How does Molly make you feel? She said, enhance the same feelings of X. How did Coke make you feel? She rarely used it. It makes you feel alert. How does K make you feel? She says she only used it once. She doesn't like it. It's weird and it makes you hallucinate. She used drugs every time they had sex. Every time that they had sex, he made her watch adult films, and she had to dress in provocative lingerie and stripper shoes. At this point, they were having 12 to 24 hours of sex. 12 to 24 hours of sex. They were having sex in his private bedroom. There was red lights. She said for the first 3 months, she loved the sex sessions. There was lots of kissing. The relationship felt really intense, but really good. They fell in love. May of 2021, she starts crying. The lady says, do you need some time? She says, no, I'm good. On this particular night, now this is I don't know if we need to do a trigger warning, but trigger warning, I guess. We're about to get to the big black dick section. So she starts crying. She said on this particular night, he had her watching adult films, and he would stop it and start having conversations about fantasies. So then he started having her search things on websites. So I'm assuming that was when he started, seeing if she was cool with cocks, because cuckolds. And then he asks her, is this, you want that? Do you like that? Imagine having that. That's me. That's what he's asking her. Imagine that's me. Imagine it's me. You like that? Do you want some of that? We are right back to big black dick. With cucks meaning your husband or boyfriend watching while another man has sex with you. A cuck. He's cool with cocks, allegedly. I'm sorry. Take it back. I take it back. I don't know what I just said. So then he wanted to have a discussion. She says she was extremely high and had been awake at this point for 24 hours. 12 hours of her being awake was sex. So this is where we get to a place where you can actually groom an adult. You are very susceptible to suggestion when you're high. And we know that when Diddy sets the scene for these sex rooms, he has the specific drugs that he wants you on. And then he turns the heat up in the room. So you've not gotten any sleep. You're taking these drugs that reduce your, inhibitions. And now you have her actively searching the type of sex that you're into. He's waited 3 months, and then you slowly start to make these suggestions. Maybe you're not cool with it, but you really like the person, or let's just be serious. This girl was willing to get with him when her friend was with him. So, it's a billionaire. Let's not be naive to the fact that played a big role in why she fell for him so quickly. And was okay with even being one of the many girlfriends. But that does not mean that somebody giving you drugs and keeping you awake for 24 hours and then hitting you with the question when you're not really able to think is not premeditated and coercive. He starts saying, I can make this fantasy a reality if you like. She, at this point, realized that he liked big black dicks. and that seeing the cuck stuff was turning him on. So she said, okay, thinking that she was playing into the fantasy. She went to the bathroom. When she came out, Diddy was in his robe, looking at his phone very intently. He then turns to her and says, I can make that happen. He makes it happen within 2 hours of their initial conversation. All of a sudden, he ushers her to a hotel room. When she gets there, the assistants are setting it up. So there's lights, the candles, the baby oil, drinks. The assistants then leave the room, and Diddy said, let's just relax. It will be fun. He knows the guy that's coming over, and he's really nice. She understood that sex was about to happen. She remembers being in the room by herself. Diddy was talking to the man. Diddy then called her to him. Diddy had her dressed in lingerie with stripper heels. The man's name was Don, and he was one of the entertainers from Cowboys and Angels. So let's see if we can look up Don real quick. Y'all, I don't think that let me see. Maybe they took their website down, because clearly Cowboys and Angels, I don't know, is prostitution legal in Miami? No, prostitution is not legal. So I don't even see a Cowboy and Angel website anymore. We can't even do the research. Diddy then messed up the people's money. It's only legal in Nevada, right? Okay. Princess says Vegas only. Okay, so yeah, I guess that's why we can't look them up. Diddy then blew the lid. Blew the lid. Diddy then blew the lid off. So okay, yeah, we're about to get into it. So she says Dawn was one of the entertainers from Cowboys and Angels. She is still extremely high. She was sitting on the couch in a robe with her legs and arms crossed. Diddy told her to stand up, start dancing. As she starts dancing, Dawn starts to get hard. He gets closer to her and starts touching her leg. She started touching him as well. Diddy was touching his little Diddy. Naked. Dawn and Jane start doing foreplay. Diddy was directing them and encouraging them. She just started moving to the bedroom. She wanted to get it over. So she really didn't necessarily want to do this, but she did, in this instance, agree to it. She then requests a condom, and Diddy says no. He says these guys are safe and some of the cleanest people. He can show you the paperwork. She says she was extremely nervous. She had no idea what he was talking about, the paperwork. At the last moment, Diddy gives him a condom. Dawn takes the condom off and he finishes on her. After Diddy and Jane made love, and Diddy was very happy with her. They took a boat trip with him and his friends afterward, and then she went back home. When she went home, she felt exhilarated from the experience. It was something she had never done before. It was taboo and for her partner. She did not think that this would ever happen again. She thought that it strengthened their relationship. Instead, it opened Pandora's box that she was unable to close for the duration of the relationship. She said it was so much big black dick and too much big black dick. She didn't put the BBD, but basically that's what she was saying. She really was not interested in that. Like, she has pretty consistent in her testimony explained that she did it for her partner, but it's not something that she oh wait, did I put it wrong? Let me see. Cowboys 4 Angels. Okay, let's look that up. Cowboys 4 Angels. Oh, that makes more sense. Let's see if we can find Dawn. I'm not seeing a Dawn. Okay, but you know what? I've been looking through all of them. I forgot that Diddy has a type. I'm not seeing too many black people on this. Let's see. I'm a person who is, I'm not really surprised by too much, but I didn't think there would be I mean, clearly sex work is usually geared towards, men paying women. I did not realize that there was a huge market for women to pay men for sex. Did y'all know that before this? I mean, I don't put anything past anybody, but I just didn't think. Let's see. Reggie. Oh, is that the Reggie? Is that the same Reggie? Because that's Grant. Do you remember that there was a Reggie, right? Was it Reggie way back at the Intercontinental Hotel? I didn't think that women paid for it too much. I don't think we're gonna find Dawn, but you think Dawn is like a fake name? The fake name that the government gave them? So he said, after May 2021, what percentage of time was spent having sex with other men? She says 90% of her time with Diddy was spent having sex with other men. She did not want to have sex with other men, and she preferred an old-fashioned relationship with the man she stole from her friend. After May 2021, she says she was agreeable at first to satisfy Diddy, went along with it for the rest of 2021. After a few months, she told Diddy she did not want to do it via text and in person. At the end of 2021 to 2020, they ended 2021 until he was arrested in 2024. She told him many times she did not want to have sex with other men. Diddy reacted very uncomfortable. He was extremely dismissive of what she was saying and her after she would say that. He kept saying, "You're crazy. Just move on. We don't have to do it." Now, that "you crazy," very, like, if you are saying something to somebody that makes perfect sense and they're telling you that you are crazy, that is them gaslighting you. Remember that. That's how they gaslight you. That "you're crazy" is specific to gaslight you. He kept saying we didn't have to do it, but then they would still have to do it. She moved into a home where Diddy paid the rent. Diddy would tell her if she did not want to do Freakoffs, "I'm not going to pay your rent, and you have 3 months to get out." So she felt obligated to continue. They're not called Freakoffs. Actually, they're called hotel parties at this point of his life. She said she felt obligation because her partner was paying her rent. These were not called Freakoffs. It was either called debauchery or hotel nights. Now, here's the thing. Diddy is intensely staring at her. Intensely just staring at her. Like, lean back like this. And he's also looking at the jury and nodding. Just saying. May 2021, October 2023. Every time she saw him, they had a hotel night. And then 30% of the time was her and him while they were doing their recovery after the 24 to 48 hours of sex with other men. After the hotel night, they spent a few days together alone. That was the only time she was with him alone. He did not give her a notice, which meant that if he wanted it, she had to get up and go or fly out to him. So she had like childcare and everything ready at a moment's notice. She had to have her hair, nails done, white nails. She said he liked white, creamy nails at this point. During the relationship, she was not allowed to travel. At one point, Diddy did not want her taking any trips. And when she did take a trip, he called her constantly and was very condescending. She went to the south of France with her girlfriends. Diddy made her feel bad for going and told her he was disappointed in her. He wanted her to keep straight hair and white nails, white creamy nails, and to get her nipples pierced. She said it took a lot to present the way that Diddy wanted. She had to stay ready at all times. It felt like a habit. Now, here's the thing. Me and the Zimmerman attorney are looking at each other now because we are establishing, or they are trying to establish, the prosecution is trying to establish that you were coerced, that you were sex trafficked. All of the things you just described sound like a job, but she will not use the term job. She says it felt like a habit. That's your testimony. That's your testimony. But to me, the way that she described it, she didn't want to do it. She's having to have sex. She wants to just be with this man. He's telling her, you can't leave town. You need to leave your child and come have sex with me at a moment's notice. You need to have your body tight. You need to have your white creamy nails. I want your hair done straight. And you're not having a good time with this. And you're now being forced to take drugs. But you don't describe it like a job. You know what I mean? Like, the relationship caused her financial strain. Her only income was Diddy. The most Diddy ever gave her was $20,000. He would sporadically give her $5,000 to $6,000. I just put, you have sold yourself short. You are dating a billionaire, and the most he's ever given you was $20,000. I know girls who get $20,000 for a good weekend with their boyfriend who has like semi-regular money. You're dating a billionaire, and the most he ever sent you was $20,000. You really do not have a high sense of self-worth. You are having sex with multiple men that you do not want to, when we don't know, may or may not be having to use condoms. You got to leave at the moment's notice. Like, something is really, really wrong. Okay, I said boyfriend. That was a nice way of saying trick. That's not a lot of money. Most of the big amounts, the big wire transfers were for furniture. 2021, she talked to Diddy about wanting to do OnlyFans. Her friend had made a lot of money. He told her no. She said she wanted to do OnlyFans in like bikini or lingerie with implied nudity. Her friend, who wanted to set her up with the OnlyFans account, had herself made $4 million for the year. So you are living off Diddy's money. He's only paying your rent. He's giving you $5,000 or $6,000 sporadically, and you have the look that would get you $4 million, and she didn't do it because Diddy did not want her to do it. She told Diddy about the proposal. He said, give it time. Let's think about this. She thought Diddy was her boyfriend and that she needed his approval. April 4th, 2023, he said, let's do a love. What did he say? A love. What was the term? A love contract. He asked her, how much do you want per month? She said 20,000. He said, I'll give you 10. So to meet in the middle, he decided just to pay her rent. He lowballed the out of her. He lowballed her horribly. So then they show a memo between Diddy's like accountant and wherever she's living. And there's a wire transfer for the deposit. May of 2021 through October 2023, she saw him in Turks, Miami, Los Angeles, and New York. Each location, they had hotel nights. His travel agent arranged it. KK would also help arrange and assist. Each hotel night followed the same pattern. Suites were decorated with red lights, music, alcohol, furniture covered in bed sheets and blankets and towels. They used 24 or more bottles of baby oil each hotel night. August 31st, 2023, he started coming to her house to have hotel nights instead of going at the hotel. She said she hated all hotel nights follow the same pattern, realized that this is what Diddy wanted. He would direct it, and she would have to go buy the lingerie, and he would pick out the lingerie he wanted to see her in and the stripper heels. Okay, so this is what actually happened in their hotel night. She would have to greet the escort. She would need to be nice to him and make small talk. Then they would get undressed. She would be in lingerie. He would be in his shorts. She would have on a robe. She would have to be high. Then they would start rubbing oil all over each other, and then she would have to dance. After she danced, they would have to disrobe. Then, remember, Diddy is telling them each time when to move on. Each time he's telling them, now you need to move on. Then the foreplay would begin. She would start by touching the man. She said the session would last really long. He really enjoyed seeing her get them. Okay. So this is something that Cassie did not say. He really enjoyed seeing her get the man hard. He would tell the man stand up so he could see it all, meaning he really enjoyed looking at her with big black dick in front of her. That was his thing. Next, it was oral. Sean would tell her specifically when she could move on. She would start the oral, she says, to speed things up. And that's very reminiscent of what Cassie was saying. She didn't want to be there, so she wanted to move to the next step as quickly as possible so it could be over. But she said it would last really long because he likes to watch her play with herself and play with the man. She would suggest to move it to the bedroom so the sex could start and be done, and she could have sex with Diddy. During sex, Diddy would say, do you want to feel some of that? Let him finish in you. So I guess that's when the condom use stopped. The man always had to finish on the outside of her coochie. Now, she did not say anything about finishing on the outside of it and then having to rub it on the nipples. So we don't know what Jane is going to give us tomorrow. They would then make love. Okay. So the man would have to finish on her somewhere, and then the man would have to get out, and then Diddy would come in. So she's not saying she's rubbing anything on him. She's saying that it's still on her, and then Diddy automatically wants to get on her. So she's not necessarily rubbing it on his nipples, but he's getting it on him by now having sex with her. We may get more later. I don't know. In a single hotel night, they could see 2 different escorts, and the hotel nights would last at this point 24 to 30 hours. We got some super chats. Mel, thank you so much for the super chat. Beverly, thank you for joining the membership. Mike on a mic. Being seen as a legacy is not surprising. Have you met you? Oh, have you seen your channel? Keep going, memes. It's higher from here. Thank you. I'm gonna have to be very cautious with these super chats. Thank you for being a member for 5 months. Grown woman, you're a classy blogger, memes. Stay that way. Thank you. Thank you for being a member for 28 months. Shakila says, we love you for who you are, and you're doing an amazing job. I appreciate your dedication to give us some pure content without all the hype and negativity. Oh, negativity. I'm sorry. I didn't see it wasn't together. My bad. Thank you, Danielle, my friend. Thank you. I appreciate that. Donna says, we are here to get the facts, period. Thank you for your reporting. Thank you. Mike on the mic. Thank you. If you got a membership from Mike, definitely tell him thank you. The Pitbull Mom, thank you so much for the super sticker. Fifi, yay, I made it. I was able to join the channel and catch it live. I hope your sister and friend are doing well. You're doing a great job. I have not checked on my friend. As far as I know, he is still in the coma. The Adventures of Whiskey Girl. I love your no BS coverage. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job, and you're making it make sense. Thank you. Grown woman, love your integrity. Thank you. I appreciate that. Salvationaire says, it seems as if she wasn't prepped for trial, or maybe they prepped her too much and told her your get out of jail free card is to say, I don't recall, which I think that's pretty customary, but it didn't go well for her. I don't know if her civil lawsuit will go through. Sika Valley, we know your integrity and you don't have to justify yourself, especially regarding all the precautions you have been taking to be fair with everyone. Be blessed. Thank you. Props to your moderator, Miss Kiki. She's on point. Absolutely love Miss Kiki. Absolutely love Miss Kiki. She's been here since the beginning of my channel. And she, it ain't easy being a mod over here. Thank you for the super sticker. Thank you for the super sticker. Lat Riley and Shaquila. I'm sorry, these are going. I just got to make sure nobody put any names in these. Speaking of ketamine, I'm late because I was watching the latest on Elon and Trump fighting. I'll rewind later, Mims. Why did Diddy almost get put out of court? He almost got put out of court for intimidating the jurors by staring at them so intently. I wanted so bad to talk about Elon and Trump. It's really difficult. This is like a full day of work. And then, you can either Instacart your groceries, but I'm not accustomed to that. So I went to the grocery store, went and got my hair cut. And now I got to figure out if I want to get a line sitter to be in the court. This is a lot. Maybe, right, this is a lot. Let me see if my line sitter is still awake. I didn't realize it was 11 o'clock here. Hopefully they're still awake. Thank you for the super chat, Crystal. Damn it, where are we? God damn, I can't, my eyes are blurry. That's how your boy is tired. Where the fuck is this super chat? I literally cannot find where I was with the super chats. Okay, found it. Thank you. C. Cavalli. Because Cassie isn't the only victim to Diddy, I wish witnesses were more prepared to prep to this, successfully selling doubt with all he had done. Yeah, it was hard to watch. Hopefully that they have more with Jane. Hopefully Jane is going to. We haven't heard anything other than the coercion. We haven't really heard too much. I don't want Jane to say he was beating on her or anything like that, but the getting somebody to take drug. I have faith that Comey is my favorite one, my favorite on the prosecution. Comey is not to be played with, just like Nicole is not to be played with. So I don't think she would be doing this particular witness without having something. Denise, thank you for joining the membership. Sika Valley, appointment so early tomorrow. Replay. Oh, okay. Replay is first on my list whenever I have a chance tomorrow. Thank you for what you do. I probably said it before. Don't ever change. Thank you. I appreciate that. The Pitbull Mom. Damn. Gifted 10 memberships. If you got a membership from the Pitbull Mom, definitely tell her thank you. East Coast Chick, thank you so much for joining the membership. Making love to Diddy was awesome. And the lie detector determined that was a lie. I'm sure she had to process it as much. Absolutely. He love bombed her, getting her prepped for Freakoffs. That's what it feels like. It feels like she was groomed. Here, take these drugs. So she took them. Then it was slowly, let's start watching adult films that kind of look like the stuff I'm into. Let me see if you're receptive to it. The first time that she thinks she's doing role play, he already has an escort waiting, doesn't want to use a condom. She is an adult. She's not getting physically beaten like Cassie, but we're going to have to see exactly what they have. I just don't feel like Comey would have her up there for nothing. And Bana was a misstep. Coco, Diddy was a wealthy pimp. Love bomb these women, get them hooked on drugs, and start pimping them out, all for his pleasure and seeing BBDs. Who was it? Queen Sheba said that she thinks that maybe there is black, maybe he's into selling these tapes on the black market. So that's an interesting concept. What's up, Gabor? In this case, it's men paying men. Absolutely. I guess I don't know if it says with Cowboys for Angels, right? So I think it's supposed to be for women, unless you're at Diddy's level and you can, buy whatever you want. Salvation Air, let's get these likes up. Yeah, definitely. I'm not out in New York just for I'm not out in New York just for the hell of it. I'm gonna have to call my line sitter after this. Mel, subscribe for a while. Just wanted to say you're doing a phenomenal job. Prayers to you and your family. Breakfast on me. Thank you so much. New York has been quite expensive. But I went to Trader Joe's for the first time. I'd never been to Trader Joe's. As soon as I get off, I'm gonna eat this Turkey Club wrap. Y'all, I have not been eating good. So I'm back in the gym tomorrow as soon as they open and eating my salads all day. Let me see. Subscribe. Mims, does he still have cup? He was wearing thicker sweaters, so you don't really get to see what's going on up there. Like maybe the trial didn't stress him because that was like week 1 where I saw his very full breasts. Joy, do you think that Bana and Jane's testimony has damaged the prosecution's case? We don't know. Jane has multiple days. This might just be the setup to what he may or may not have done to her. Today, I didn't really hear anything that sounded like straight up I think they would have a hard time proving, just based on what we heard, I think they would have a hard time proving anything other than coercion. Bana definitely hurt. It definitely hurt. Ifioma, thank you so much for the super sticker ×2. Thank you. C Burgeon, he tried to make it all look normal. It's not. It's not. It's not. Here's what's not normal about it. Diddy could have any. Once you reach billionaire status, there's very few people you can't have. I know everybody in the chat is going to say they have all the best morals, but realistically, you have a lot of options when you're a billionaire. But that's not what Diddy wants. Diddy wants somebody who does not want that. That is part of the intrigue to him. He could have any bisexual man and woman coming in there, performing for him, doing all of these things, putting them on payroll. That's not what he wants. He wants somebody who does not want to do it. That's part of the kink for him. So he'll never, if that's what he likes, he's never going to truly be fulfilled because the people he's doing it with don't want to do it. That's why you have to, coax them to do it with like drugs and stuff. Goddess, no, I can't believe Janice is sitting listening to this. Why wouldn't she? They say Janice was having sex parties. Why wouldn't she? Janice and Janice put him on with the sex parties, and allegedly Aaron Hall put him on with the big black dicks and filming it and not taking no for an answer. So you got Janice with the shake and go wig sitting and listening to what was more than likely her old lifestyle. Dating gangsters and alleged sex parties where Diddy was privy to seeing things he should not have seen. Do you think sex trafficking or racketeering has been proven at this point? From an unbiased point of view, it just looks like a rich sugar daddy. And for the record, I'm not a Diddy fan. Well, I think there's currently 8 charges they need to prove 2 in order to prove RICO. I don't think that so far sex trafficking is in the bag. Maybe racketeering, sex trafficking, no. I can see where they were trying to go with Cassie, but you would have to believe that Cassie was not a girlfriend and she was actively a sex worker. And even though her testimony was horrible and the beatings, I don't think that that was conveyed well enough to the jury, because some of them were sleeping through the testimony of the psychologist who was explaining why you could have somebody who thought they were a girlfriend when in actuality, they were just a victim and a vessel. They were sleeping through that. There is a such thing as called jury fatigue. And I don't know if they need to get them some 5-hour energy or what, but there's active times when I am in the courtroom and I can see some of them dozed off. So, yeah. Another YouTuber started that Cassie disclosed that Janice would watch her and Diddler. I never heard that. What I did hear is, I think it was like one of Diddy's friends / friend of the family lived on and off with Janice. I think he was the one that had said that Janice was throwing those type of parties and he and Diddy would be in the house and would go into rooms and seeing people doing stuff like that. I hear a lot about sex magic, like through bodily fluids and stuff like that, taking the energy from people. I don't know about all that. I'm from Louisiana, so I believe in voodoo and all kinds of stuff. But I don't know. I've heard a lot of the stuff that he does has supernatural intent. I don't know. I can't speak to that. I can just speak to what's going on in the courtroom. Grown Woman says, I've been in the juror and the expert witnesses are so detailed that it's boring. There is a such thing as jury fatigue. So y'all, I'll definitely be back tomorrow. If my line sitter answers the phone, then maybe we can work something out so I can be in the courtroom tomorrow. But for the time being, thank you guys. I'm so sorry I'm so late. It was definitely the barber. This time it was not my fault. But hopefully I won't be this late tomorrow. I will see you guys tomorrow for sure. This is a big black day.